Hello, 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 YouTube. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to Real Talk Therapy 101 with your girl Ebony. I felt the outside vibe so much yesterday, I decided to come back outside for today's continuation of self-care 103 self-development. And so for any of you that are new joining us here on Real Talk Therapy, please go back, kind of catch up, get a feel for, read the bio about what this channel is about and how we are investing or investing in our mental health, different ways to get through the things that life keeps throwing us in ways that we never imagined, in relatable ways, and just having real talk conversations about how to better take care of ourselves mentally. So keeping that vibe going for today as we go into today's segment with self-care and self-development is our theme for this week. So our featured custom-made shirt, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says, I ain't cocky, I'm confident, with Real Talk Therapy 101 in the middle of that. And as we get ourselves situated, the pine cold, like it's definitely fall out here. And see stuff falling and all that other good stuff. Y'all see me run, just know I'll be back. But today's coach bag of the day is a regular little backpack, horse and carriage tote, keep it with the gray and black theme that I have on today. This is very handy. One of the older backpack styles that I have, and probably one of the very few female features of a Coach backpack that I have, because they're just too small for what I need to do and as much as I travel and all that good stuff. But nonetheless, it's one of my favorites. And I'll go on down to our, yeah, forgive me for the phone out here. But hopefully you can see our kicks for today. Little gray shades of heather gray Vapor Max. So those are our shoes, our Coach bag of the day, our custom made t-shirt. And now let's go into our conversation for today. So as I listened yesterday, the headphones with noise cancellation was wonderful, because there was a lot of stuff that you guys heard that I did not hear, but I was still loud enough for you all to hear. And so while the weather is permitting, this may be our new scenery for a little bit. We just gotta see, and especially until something goes down out here that had me like, nah, I ain't getting ready to be sitting out here doing nothing. But at any rate, we're talking about self-development. We've fallen in love with ourselves again. We've become more aware of the people and the things around us. And now we're developing this version of who we are right now and how we're going to deal with those problem areas in our life that we hadn't pulled from under the rug and started working through. All those things that seem to be repetitive. Some of those things that we just can't get away from doing. You know, you find yourself doing the same things over and over again. So you've got to develop a different way to go, a different way to handle things, different coping skills, different ways to be calm about some of the same old things, because until we deal with them, they're going to keep coming. And in this process of self-development, you've got to build up your guard. Remember Pepe Le Pew? You know, the very thing about him that people didn't like or people shied away from was the very thing that made him who he was at that time and made him want to seek and go after what he wanted to go after regardless. And so it weeded out a lot of people that he didn't need in his life. Just imagine if every girl that he went after, you know, took him up on them offers and wanted to be with him, how many relationships and messes and all this craziness he would have been involved with if he had done that. So, you know, when you're in this self-development phase of yourself, there are some things about you that you are just going to have to stand firm on. People are going to call you cocky. People are going to call you arrogant. People may even call you egotistic. But self-development, to move into the phase of self-preservation, is not at all being cocky or egotistical or even narcissistic. It's me developing a sense of protection of who I am right now, so that the things that used to hurt me can no longer hurt me anymore. I'm in an unbothered era of my life where things that used to bother me just don't bother me quite like they used to. And when you start running out of ammunition, when you start running out of fuel to throw to the fire, then it takes away from all the anxiety and the depression and the worration that you had about a certain situation, because you just found another way to deal with it. Sometimes you may definitely have to figure out ways to remove yourself from those situations, but a tolerance, building up a tolerance in the development stage of where you are, is priceless in order for you to have peace in situations where it used to seem so chaotic in your life. You know, life is still gonna life. So we don't have conversations about once we make it through this part, we're gonna be good to go. No, it's gonna be something else. These conversations are to help you be prepared for the something else and how to deal with it in a new approach. If we keep doing the same old things, we keep getting the same old results. And so one of the things about communicating and not being passive aggressive with how you communicate and being honest is being able to look inside of yourself and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? I know for me, I ain't cocky. I'm just confident. And it may come across cocky. You might feel like I'm being cocky, or, you know, you might feel like I'm speaking out of turn or speaking in a way that I've never spoken before. But it's because I've developed myself for where I am in this era. So I'm not going to talk the same. I'm not going to walk around here and let you do the things you used to do to me. No, we're not doing that anymore. I've built up a development. I've developed a version of myself that is able to walk past some stuff that I used to have to stop and see what was going on. Stop and see, you know, what they talking about. Are they talking about me? Is this something that I need? Man, I don't care now. I can keep it moving. Even if you are talking about me, if it's not something that I care to address in that moment, I keep going, because I'm learning that people's perception is their perception. And remember, they can have that. They can have their perception, their opinion, all of that, but it does not need to change you now. Because remember before, when you got off course, something in your life, something was presented to you, somebody told you something about you that they didn't like, that they couldn't handle, or that was intimidating to them, that made them feel insecure, and they wanted you to become the version that was easier for them to deal with. No. If you truly love a person, if you truly, you know, like I tell you, love it's an action word. It's out loud. And you have to be able to love the good, the bad, the indifferent, the flaws, the shortcomings, because nobody is perfect. Everybody falls. So if I can't accept and love those things about you, then you have to know that me or whoever else truly does not love you. I'm truly not there for who you are. I'm there for what it may benefit from me. And people don't see that or grasp that, because they've skipped self-awareness and they went straight to, okay, I think I love this part of myself and now I want to develop who I think I am. No, you got to become more aware of who you are so that you can develop that. And so our example for that today, so you can really hear what I'm saying, look at Steve Urkel. And we know his alter ego was, when he wasn't Steve, after a while, because they wanted to quit showing him in a nerdy light, he became Stefan. You know, so he developed this alter ego of the Steve Urkel that we knew, who had no problem putting on the suspenders and the cuffs in his pants and the shirt and being who he was. Steve Urkel didn't give a flip about them people. He didn't allow them to change who he was in an era where being a nerd wasn't cool. But there were so many cool things about Steve. Steve knew how to party. Steve knew how to court a girl. He was in love with Laura. He knew all the right things to do. She just wasn't in a place to accept Steve, you know, at that time. But Steve Swag stayed on 1,000. Steve Urkel was you know, he wasn't cocky. He was confident in who he was, what he looked like, and he developed ways to protect himself. Sometimes when people was ragging on Steve and making jokes and stuff and talking about Steve Urkel, he joined in. He didn't care. If that's what you need to be able to function and to move through, then I'm letting you have that these days. If cheap shots and little nasty things is what people need to say, I'm letting them have that these days. Because like I said, I know me, and because I'm learning me, I may go too far in the retaliation stage. I may take you to a place where you can't recover. And I don't necessarily want to do that because I don't have the same issue with you that you may have with me. And you know, I'm using this as examples and ways for you to be able to say to people when you're in that development stage, hey, you know what? I hear you. And I used to have an issue with trying to explain that to you. I'm sorry you feel that way. But this is a part of who I am. And if that's not going to work for you, I understand if our friendship need to change, if our relationship need to change, if whatever need to change, if our work, you know, if you need to start going to lunch with Susie Joe then, because if you go to lunch with me, we not talking about work, you know, and that's for me. Now, I don't mind going to lunch with you, but the conversation just has to be something different. And if all we have to talk about is work, let's do it at work. It's simple. You know, you got to protect and guard everything that you're becoming now, because if you don't take stake in and take care of your foundation and take care of this new reputation and this new version and this new development of yourself, everything that you worked hard for will come crumbling down. And true to form, we'll start looking for people to blame when there aren't, you know, there's nobody to blame. You gotta look at you. And you got to be okay with those choices. You got to be okay with, if I'm telling you this don't work for me no more, it just don't work for me no more. You know, and maybe we can look at something different. Maybe we can figure out, you know, a different way to go about it. But right now, this right here is not working for the kid. And if somebody tells you that, you got to be able to receive that and respect people where they are. There's power in letting go of certain things that you just can't control. Quit trying to make a puzzle fit or make something make sense to you. If it don't make sense to you, that's okay. Park it there. You know what I'm saying? Because if this don't make sense to me, I'll continue to look and see at whatever else may be going on. Speak about it if you need to speak about it, but get it off you. Because the more we sit and hold on to stuff, it boils and it festers over. You know, you have something on the stove and it starts to boil over. It's had enough. You know, you can have enough. You can hold on to stuff and then it comes out in the wrong, you know, ways. It comes out at the wrong time. It comes out on the wrong people. And so in this self-development stage, you got to get to the place of, this is who I am now. And I'm in love with who I am now. I'm aware with who I am now. I'm aware of what my goals are. So now I'm developing ways that will work for me to reach those goals. If I have to schedule a time to, you know, to be with people, or say, hey, on this date, me and you can get together and we can do this, or if y'all having this, thanks for the invite, I may or may not be able to come through, instead of feeling obligated to do stuff. You know, we put ourselves in a place of obligation to things that are not obligated to us. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to talk, y'all know I touch on that love and loyalty thing, and I really been looking at that and researching it. We're going to talk a little more about that, but you know, some stuff just go hand in hand. But when people want to create a way for you to deal with their BS, they'll create a way for you to look at their BS. And you don't have to deal with it. And people that you love and care about, you can say it. Hey, I felt like that's what that was, but I digress. We move on. If something else comes up in reference to it, know that I'm gonna have to come back here. But you know, this is what I see right now. I'm not saying that this is who you are, because I know you probably going through the phase of recreating yourself. And that's why it's so important for you to let people know, so that they aren't guessing what's going on with you. People aren't putting labels on you when you don't even feel that way. If you being quiet and you're not usually quiet, somebody who really cares about you, they look deep into that silence. They don't start trying to make up stuff because they don't understand why you're silent. They look deep into it and they may ask, hey, what's going on? And if you're in a place of just saying, hey, just right now, I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I'm trying to really figure out what's going on. Say that. Don't sit there in silence and try to let people guess and play these games that we learned to play when we were kids. When you get into certain stages of adulthood, it's time to put some of that childish mess away and start being a grown-up. Learn how to be a grown-up. You know what I'm saying? It's not a manual. It's nothing taught, but, you know, you have to change the pace and direction, you know, at some point with some things. You have to start, you know, calling a spade when it's time to do so. You have to start saying what's okay with you and what's not. Hey, look, I don't appreciate and or like that, but I get it. It ain't changing how I feel about you right now. You know what I'm saying? But it could. We have to speak on those things when we're in that development stage, because sometimes when you hear yourself speak on it, it becomes real. And like I said, for Steve Urkel, he was popular just the way that he was. It was years later before they came up with this change of him being Stefan. And I don't know why the sitcom made that change, but it took away from this confidently cool person that wore his emotions on his sleeve. He was honest. You know, he was a little manipulative and he did things that any other teenager would do, but he was curious about love. He was smart. You know, he made the Winslows his family. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't meet a stranger. He didn't have an enemy. If you didn't like Steve Urkel, that was on you. And so in developing yourself, you want to develop that layer of skin that if people continuously have a problem with you, especially about something you did way back, and they haven't began to work through how they feel about it in the future, don't own that. Give them the opportunity to handle it the way they need to handle it. But you develop a sense of tolerance for what I would deal with. I'll listen to how you feel, but I'm not going to be disrespected. That's the end of it. I'll have a conversation with you, but if you come for me, you need to know I'm coming back for you. So let's talk. Tell me how you feel without being nasty. Tell me what I've done to you without it being an argument or whatever, because if you take it that way and the conversation or whatever it is continues to go that way, the outcome is not going to be a positive one if that's what you're looking for. Now, you know, if you're looking for a fight and you pick one, gear up to fight. You know what I'm saying? We know what our intentions are. We know what our motives are. We know when we do stuff for spite, and we know when we do stuff because we truly are, you know, heard. We just want to be heard. We want to be understood. You understand? And so, you know, you can't also think that people are gonna do stuff. Y'all, there's stuff flying around out here now too. So, you know, we get into the gritty and the conclusion of this thing, but I don't do fly around, and I don't know what you are. But at any rate, you know, you have to be able to own your emotions and own how you feel about stuff and be able to tell people. And if you're not going to say anything in the moment, then you've got to develop a coping strategy of release. If you don't like confrontation, go to the Dollar Tree. It's not $1.25 tree or Walmart or wherever. Get you a little composition notebook. If you can't afford to get the actual journals, write it out. If it's something that's truly, you know, taking you to places, get you something and write your frustrations down. If you are not the one to talk about it, but it's not healthy to make people feel guilty or feel any kind of way about something you've never discussed with them. You know, in the self-development phase, it's time out for walking around with your arms folded, like my grandboy do sometimes when he mad, and he be like, you know, and now we're getting to places where we're just like, so we don't care, but really I care. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him to be I don't want him to be mad with me and not himself when he's around me. But I have to understand there's gonna be some times where a little 2-year-old ain't fooling with me right then. He don't want granny. He won't whatever. And in that development of him becoming who he is, I have to allow and accept that emotion. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be 100% okay with each other all the time. That was a really hard lesson for me to learn, because I used to think I was finding ways to be okay with stuff, but really I wasn't doing nothing but suppressing it and holding on to it, and it would come out in the most inopportune times. Like I could be, doing a staffing with somebody, or I could be, typing up something, or just finished a session and just break out in tears. Don't know where it came from, don't know why. And y'all know I'm gangster girly. I don't be around here trying to cry like that for real. But when it just comes out, it seems like it comes out in the most inopportune times, because I never scheduled or sat down and took the time to feel what I was feeling. And you have to do that, but let the people around you know what you're doing, so that they don't feel like something is, for one, wrong with you, and then they don't start looking and figuring out, well, what did I do? Because if you're in someone's circle, and because they're not being themselves, if the first thing you do is start trying to think about something that you may have done or hadn't done, and you come to the conclusion that there was nothing that you feel like could have been mistaken or whatever, you need to have a conversation. But if you're that person that starts thinking about, dang, they not talking to me, so do they know if I did whatever? Then you're already guilty. You know what you've already done. And so in some points, it's best to go on about your way, or come clean. Don't sit on something, but also don't put your reaction on people. We all react to stuff differently. So the same scenario, the same thing that we're seeing, if right now a tornado came through here, the chances of me sitting here trying to finish this with y'all is going to be slim to none. I love the weather. I love looking at the weather. I love the predictions. I love to see storms and all of these things from afar. I'm, it's majestic to me. I grew up being taught that when it's thundering and lightning, you're supposed to be quiet. So when you're supposed to be quiet, or when you're being quiet, you hear things and see things in a completely different way, because you don't even hear your own voice. You're not even in your own way of enjoying the majestic part of a thunderstorm. It's not all bad. It's destructive, but it's not all bad. And you're thinking clearly, you can keep yourself safe. But if a tornado were to come through here right now, I can guarantee you there would not be a finished part of this video, because your girl gone. Whatever happened with this phone, this stand, this chair, any of this stuff, whatever happened with it, just happened with it, because I gotta save and shelter my life and not worry about saving and sheltering things, But there would be one person out there that would say, well, she was almost to the end. The tornado didn't take her phone away until 5 minutes after she left. I don't care. You sit here and see what the end result would probably be. My safety is now a priority for me. It didn't used to be before. Everybody else around me had to be safe. Everything around me had to be okay. Everything around me had to be good. Well, if I'm spending all my energy doing that, when am I going to take care of me? And then it starts to look crazy. It starts to look different. And so you have to make sure that you take a hold of that in developing yourself. And once you get to where you're comfortable and what's good for you, once you get to that place of developing those portions of yourself that can't be knocked down, can't be messed with, can't be kicked around, can't be anything, then you will start to see how you're developing into the individual that you are in this moment, in your present, and how to deal with this stuff as it comes now. You're not focused on the past. You remember it, but you're focused and you're more present in your present, so you can see down the line to what your future holds for you, and all of those things, and relationships and jobs and all of those things that are near and dear to you. Now they are becoming a part of that development. Now they're accepting, you know what? My girl ain't cocky. She's just confident in who she is now. She's okay with what she's been through. And I like watching her, head towards where she's trying to go. And not only is she doing all of that, she reaching back for the next person that want to go. You got to want to go. You got to want to move. If you want to sit there and stay stuck, I'm telling you, man, you can do whatever you like. But it's a miserable existence because you're missing out on everything else that's going on around you. So it's time to take hold of this self-care thing and the third leg of it, and how to get to the place where taking care of yourself is not considered selfish. It's actually self-preservation, something that you need so that you don't continue to lose yourself mentally in the sight of things that are going on around you or going on inside you or going on that you're a part of, that you just can't figure out how to maneuver through it and how to make it through, because you can get to the other side. And it don't have to take us as long as it's been taking us. Once you start processing and learning how to deal with things for you, and then learning when to include those people that need to be included in those conversations, doing it in your own timing, not feeling, stressed by somebody else to do something. Once you make that known, things become a lot easier for other people. I was the one that wanted things to happen on my timing, and I had to learn that just because I'm ready, if the person that I need to have this conversation with, or the person that I need to work through this issue with, is not ready, I can't force myself on them. I have to learn how to fall back and wait my turn. And do the same thing, vice versa. Just because we're ready, we can't make others be ready. You have to learn a level of patience. And remember, if we got patience, we got peace. Because in the waiting era, you're learning how to deal with some more things. And so when it comes your way, it's not confrontation, but it's a conversation about how to make things better if possible, or how to, terminate something if it's not working for both parties. It's okay. It's all right. No need to be upset, no bad blood, no none of that. We've spoken our truths of where we are and what it is that we want. And right now, the road may lead somewhere else. It's all right. You don't have to hate somebody just because whatever whatever relationship or whatever capacity you're involved with this person, if it's no longer there, it's just no longer there. Leave it alone. But at any rate, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Y'all know that these things is for real. It gets for real. And as you're learning it, you got to be really ready to implement it. And that's just a fancy way of applying it, taking it step by step and say, okay, you know what, today I need to say this to this individual, and I just need to respectfully ask, I need to speak to you. I need to speak to you on some things that aren't comfortable. But I need to know if we can truly have that conversation and have it. It's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. And it may take some role playing and some practicing. But in self-development, you have to find a level of confidence within that keeps you where you can take care of yourself. And you have to be determined for my personal development and my personal growth. This is just how it has to go for me. And I'm sorry. Break those codependent relationships, those things that we are. Yeah, that was a twig. I thought it was something else when I hit my leg. But anyway, we have to quit looking into things and look at things for what they are, and know if that's part of your tolerance level in that moment. So again, please come back, join your girl. Subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, and share. But begin that task of self-development. Write it down, what it looks like, who you are, and even those things that you aren't still quite sure about. Write them down and put a question mark beside them. Consult your higher power. Fast, pray, whatever it is, that you do. Call in all cards in to help you with the self-development process so that you can have it at a place of peace, a personal peace that'll pass everybody else's understanding, but it has you at a personal peace. All right, guys, be safe about it, and see you all tomorrow.